The story you are about to hear is one of the most brutal, overlooked, and misunderstood battles of World War II. A battle so intense, so costly, and so strategically vital that it shaped the entire outcome of the Allied advance in Italy. Yet today, barely anyone outside military historians remembers what really happened. This is the forgotten Battle of Monte Cassino, the fight for a single mountain that thousands of soldiers gave their lives for, not because of what it was, but because of what it controlled. A battle of mud, blood, shattered stone, and unbelievable human endurance. Why Monte Cassino mattered? Italy, 1944. The Allies had defeated Mussolini, but the road to Rome was completely blocked by a series of German defensive lines. The strongest of them was the Gustav Line, a chain of fortifications, trenches, bunkers, and artillery positions built across the narrow width of Italy. And right in the middle of this defensive system stood Monte Cassino, a steep mountain crowned by a 1,000-year-old monastery. Whoever controlled this mountain controlled the valley, and whoever controlled the valley controlled the only pass the Allies could use to move north. Taking Monte Cassino was not optional. It was the key that unlocked Italy. But the Germans saw this too, and they turned the mountain into one of the deadliest natural fortresses of the entire war. The impossible task. The Allies had a major problem. Monte Cassino was perfect defensive terrain. Extremely steep slopes. No cover. Wide open killing zones. Machine guns placed high enough to see everything dot. Artillery hidden in caves. German paratroopers, some of the toughest soldiers in the world. The Allies could only attack uphill. The Germans only had to shoot downhill. From the very beginning, it was a nightmare. The first assault. In January 1944, Allied troops, mainly American forces, launched the first assault. They tried to push through the town of Cassino and up the slopes, but the Germans fought from fortified positions, hidden in rubble, caves, and trenches. The Americans advanced a few meters, then got pushed back. Days passed. Hundreds died. Nothing changed. For the first time, the Allies realized that Monte Cassino would not fall quickly. It would become a grinding, bloody, trench-like battle, but on a mountain. The bombing of the monastery. As casualties mounted, Allied commanders believed the Germans were using the ancient monastery as an observation post. This led to one of the most controversial decisions of the war. On the 15th of February 1944, the Allies dropped over 1,400 tons of bombs on the monastery, reducing a historic treasure to smoking ruins. But there was one problem. German soldiers were not inside the monastery before the bombing. The building was empty. However, after the bombing, the ruins became perfect defensive positions, and German paratroopers immediately occupied them. The goal had been to remove an advantage. Instead, the Allies had accidentally made Monte Cassino even harder to capture. The second and third battles. After the bombing, the Allies launched new attacks, this time involving British, New Zealand, Indian, and Gurkha troops. They fought through torrential rain, icy winds, mud that swallowed vehicles, and slopes so steep that soldiers had to climb on hands and knees. The fighting was brutal. Close quarters hand-to-hand combat. Flamethrowers. Grenades inside mountain caves. Snipers hidden among ruins. Machine guns firing for hours without stopping. The town of Cassino turned into a pile of rubble so thick that tanks could not move. Indian and Gurkha units tried to scale near vertical cliffs during the night, one of the most daring feats of the entire Italian campaign, but were eventually pushed back. The Allies were exhausted. The Germans were still holding strong. Monte Cassino seemed impossible to take. The final assault. By May 1944, the Allies prepared for the largest coordinated attack in the Italian campaign. This time, soldiers from over 20 nations participated: British, Americans, Indians, Poles, Moroccans, French, New Zealanders, South Africans, and more. The key blow came from the Polish II Corps, who launched a desperate assault up the slopes, suffering heavy casualties but slowly driving the German paratroopers back meter by meter. At the same time, Moroccan and French mountain troops broke through the surrounding hills, threatening to encircle the German defenders. Under overwhelming pressure and running out of ammunition, the Germans finally withdrew. On the 18th of May, 1944, Polish soldiers reached the ruins of the monastery and raised their flag over Monte Cassino. After 4 battles, 5 months, and 55,000 Allied casualties, the Gustav Line had finally been broken. Rome was now open. Why Monte Cassino was forgotten? Monte Cassino was one of the deadliest battles of the Western Front, yet it receives only a fraction of the attention given to Normandy or Stalingrad. There are several reasons why. It was overshadowed by D-Day, which happened just weeks later. It involved many nations, so no single country owned the story. The controversy around the monastery bombing made it politically sensitive. Italy was often seen as a secondary front compared to France or the Eastern Front. But the truth is simple. Monte Cassino was one of the most important Allied victories of the entire war, and one of the greatest displays of human courage under impossible conditions. The Battle of Monte Cassino is not just a chapter in a history book. It is a reminder of the unimaginable sacrifices made by thousands of soldiers fighting for just a few hundred meters of ground, because those few meters shaped the future of Europe. It is a story of resilience, determination, and the incredible human will to overcome the impossible. And now, this forgotten battle is forgotten no more.